If you're over 40, there's a very strong chance you're doing something every single day that quietly blocks fat loss, and you have no idea it's happening. Here's the part that stings the most. You could be dragging yourself to the gym for 90 minutes. 2 full hours even, sweating, grinding, watching the clock. You're doing everything you were told to do. And still the scale won't move. Your stomach won't change. Your reflection stays exactly the same. So you do what almost everyone does. You blame yourself. You decide you must be lazy or broken or that your metabolism simply quit on you. It's none of that. Not one bit of it. The real reason is far stranger, and once you see it clearly, you genuinely cannot unsee it. You are not lazy. You are not doing it wrong. You are sending your body one message all day long without ever meaning to. That message is simple. Store fat. Hold on to it. Don't let go of anything. Keep everything just in case things get hard. And then you walk into the gym and try to outsweat a message your body already received 100 times before you ever arrived. Meanwhile, there are people doing less than 9 minutes of deliberate effort a day, and their bodies respond. Quickly, visibly, almost unfairly. Fat comes off. Energy stops collapsing at 3 in the afternoon. The constant gnawing background noise about food finally goes quiet. And know before you roll your eyes, it isn't because they're working harder than you. In many cases, they're working far less than you. Because here's what almost nobody explains properly. Your body does not reward effort. It responds to signals. That's the entire mechanism. You can pour 2 hours of effort into the wrong signal and get nothing back. Nothing at all. Not 1 pound. Not 1 inch. Or you can send the right signal in a handful of minutes and completely change what your body decides to do with every meal. Right now, most people stack the wrong signals from morning until night. Meal after meal, habit after habit, choice after unconscious choice. Then they try to undo all of it in one workout at the end of the day when the damage is already done. It's like leaving the tap running until the whole house floods, then grabbing a single towel to mop it up. The problem was never the towel. The towel was fine. The towel worked hard. The problem was that nobody turned off the tap. So let me show you how to turn off the tap. 4 simple habits. Under 9 minutes total. That's the whole thing. And I'll be honest with you right now. The 4th one is the one almost everybody misses. It's also the one that holds everything together. Stay with me until we reach it. Because if you leave before then, you'll walk away with the engine and no ignition key. Let's start with the habit that costs you nothing, takes the least time, and quietly does the heaviest lifting of all 4. 20 to 50 bodyweight squats a day. That's it. But here's the trick that changes everything. You don't do them all at once. You break them up. 10 right after a meal. 10 while the kettle boils or while you brush your teeth. 10 scattered anywhere. And I know exactly how underwhelming that sounds. Squats? That's the secret? Hold on for a moment, because when you do them, matters enormously. Think about what actually happens the second you finish eating. Your body has to make one decision about that food, and only one. Burn it now for fuel. Or pack it away for later. That's the fork in the road. That's the whole game right there. And the hormone standing at that fork, deciding which direction your meal travels, is insulin. Everything downstream depends on what insulin does next. When you eat, especially carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises. Insulin rises to meet it. Its job is to move that sugar out of your blood. The bigger the spike, the more aggressively your body swings into storing mode, and it stays there for hours afterward, quietly filing things away. Here's the cruel part. It doesn't matter that you plan to hit the gym later that evening. By then, the decision is already made. Your body chose to store hours ago while you sat digesting on the couch, scrolling your phone, completely unaware anything was being decided. Now watch what a few squats do to that entire equation. Something genuinely surprising happens, and it happens fast. When you contract your muscles, even gently, even for 2 or 3 minutes, those muscles start pulling sugar straight out of your bloodstream, and they do it without needing a big flood of insulin to unlock the door. Your muscles have their own key. Movement turns it. Researchers have found that just a couple of minutes of light movement after eating can meaningfully blunt the blood sugar spike that follows. In some cases, it works better than a longer walk taken an hour or 2 later once the spike has already peaked and passed. Less spike means less insulin. Less insulin means less of that meal gets shoved into storage. It's that direct, that mechanical. And a good portion of that storage tends to settle right around the middle. The belly, the place that frustrates people most. This matters more than vanity. The fat that wraps around your organs, your liver, your heart, your pancreas isn't just cosmetic padding. It's the deep, stubborn, genuinely dangerous fat. Once it settles in around your organs, it becomes remarkably difficult to shift again. That deep fat is a big reason some people feel heavy, sluggish, and foggy after eating. Others rise from the same table feeling fine. So sit with this for a second. This habit isn't really exercise the way you've been taught to think about exercise. You're not trying to burn off the meal. You'd need hours for that. You're doing something far smarter and far cheaper. You're stepping in before the storage decision is made and quietly intercepting it in real time. While the window is still open. Same meal, same food, same plate. Add 90 seconds of squats and you've handed your body an entirely different set of instructions. That's habit 1. Now here's where most people accidentally sabotage everything they've built, and they never once feel it happening. I want you to eat like an adult. And I genuinely mean that as a kindness, not as an insult. Somewhere along the way, we all got told to eat every 2 or 3 hours. Keep the metabolism stoked, they said. Small, frequent meals, snacks between meals, a little something to hold you over. It became gospel. Almost nobody questioned it. But you are not a growing child who needs a constant drip of food just to survive until dinner arrives. You are a grown adult with a body fully capable of running smoothly, calmly, and clearly through the gaps between real meals. So here's the ask. Eat 2 to 3 actual meals a day. Real food, real portions, nothing squeezed in between them. Eat until you're genuinely satisfied. Full content, not stuffed, not restricted. Then close the kitchen and walk away from it. Breakfast. Lunch and dinner with clean gaps between them. Or just lunch and dinner if that suits your life better. Or breakfast and lunch and nothing after. The exact pattern matters far less than the gaps you leave between them. Because here's what snacking actually does, and this is where so many people quietly destroy their own results without ever noticing. Every single time you eat, insulin rises. A snack, a meal, something healthy, something junky. It genuinely doesn't matter which. And while insulin is elevated, fat burning is essentially switched off. Not slowed, not reduced, switched off at the source. Your body will not reach into its own fat stores while fresh fuel is arriving and insulin is climbing. Why would it? It has easier energy sitting right there in the bloodstream. Bodies are efficient. They always take the cheaper option available. So picture the grazer. Breakfast, mid-morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, evening nibble in front of the television. From the moment they wake until the moment they sleep, insulin never truly gets a chance to fall back down again, which means their body never gets the quiet window it needs to flip over and start burning stored fat for fuel. They spend the entire day burning the food they just ate, nothing more. And whatever is left over gets tucked away. That's why belly fat feels permanently stuck. It's not that their body can't burn it. Their body is perfectly capable. It's that they never gave it a single moment where burning was allowed. The door was never opened, not once. This is the real difference between the person who thinks about food constantly and the person who barely thinks about it. It comes down to one question. Are you a sugar burner or a fat burner? Everything else follows from that answer. If you graze all day, you're a sugar burner. You're riding a roller coaster of spikes and crashes you didn't choose. That's exactly why the energy dips arrive on schedule, why the brain fog rolls in, why the cravings show up like clockwork. But when you close the gaps and let insulin fall between meals, you finally unlock the door to your own stored fat. And here's the hard truth that pairs with habit 1. You could train 90 minutes daily and still never flip this switch. If you graze from morning until night, you'll stay stuck. It doesn't matter how hard you work. The signal overrides the effort. So we've handled when you move and how often you eat. But there's a hidden driver quietly steering both of them. It fools your brain dozens of times a day, and almost nobody catches it. Let's talk about that one now. I already know exactly what you're thinking. Drink more water. Wow, groundbreaking. Thanks for that revolutionary insight. Stay with me for 2 minutes anyway, because the timing of this one is doing something you almost certainly don't realize. When you wake up, you are dehydrated. You just spent 7 or 8 hours without a single drop of water. So before you reach for coffee, before you caffeinate, which is itself mildly dehydrating, start with 1 to 2 cups of clean water. Hydrate first. Caffeinate second. It costs you nothing, and it changes how the entire first half of your day feels. Then, keep it simple from there. A glass of water before each meal. That's the whole protocol. Nothing complicated. Here's the piece almost everybody gets wrong. Drinking water before a meal has been shown to reduce how much people eat. Not slightly, either. In some studies, the reduction is meaningful enough to matter across weeks and months of ordinary eating. And the reason is quietly fascinating. Your brain is genuinely poor at distinguishing hunger from thirst. The signals overlap. They travel similar paths and arrive wearing similar clothes. And when your brain is unsure which one it's receiving, it guesses food. It guesses food almost every single time. Food is the safer bet, evolutionarily speaking. So that's the message you consciously receive. So when you're even mildly dehydrated, your body nudges you toward the fridge. And you dutifully interpret that nudge as hunger. This is why you can eat an entire meal and still feel like something is missing. Like you're not quite finished. Sometimes that missing something was never food at all. It was water. Your brain simply mistranslated the message on the way through. Fix the hydration, and a surprising amount of what you called hunger simply evaporates. It was never real hunger to begin with. which sets up the fourth habit perfectly, the one that ties all of this together and makes everything else feel almost effortless. This is the one most people skip, and it's the one quietly holding the other three habits upright. Skip it, and everything else becomes harder than it ever needed to be. You'll be fighting yourself for no reason. It's almost embarrassingly simple. 2 cups of water and 1 scoop of high-quality protein, stirred or shaken, drunk in one go. That's it. 20 seconds. No prep, no cooking, no dishes, no decisions, no willpower required at any point. Here's why it punches so far above its weight. Protein is the most satiating thing you can put into your body. It turns down your hunger hormones. It turns up the fullness signals reaching your brain. And it does this for hours, not minutes. Hours, this is the actual reason some people fight food cravings all day while others barely think about eating. It's often not willpower at all. One group is genuinely satisfied at the hormonal level. The other simply isn't. That's the difference. Now stack that on top of the hydration habit and watch what happens inside one single glass of liquid. You're hydrating your body. You're delivering 20 plus grams of protein. You're dampening cravings. You're smoothing out your energy. Simultaneously, you could spend a full hour in the gym and still feel restless and hungry for the rest of the day. This one drink quietly manages the next 6 to 8 hours for you. Without effort, without thought, without negotiation. And this is the real genius of it. You're not performing 4 separate chores. You're stacking habits on top of each other. The water and the protein solve 2 problems in one motion. 1 glass, 1 moment, 2 signals corrected at once. There's no willpower tax because there's barely anything to decide. And that's precisely why it survives when complicated plans collapse. The best habit isn't the theoretically optimal one. It's the one you'll still be doing 3 months from now without thinking. Now step back and look at what you've actually built here, because it's considerably bigger than the sum of its parts. You're not just doing 4 little habits. That framing undersells it badly. Let's name what's actually happening underneath. You're controlling insulin, the single hormone standing at the fork between burning and storing every meal you eat. You're cutting off deep visceral fat storage at the source before it settles around the organs that keep you alive. You're shutting down the cravings that used to quietly run your entire day and drain your attention from everything else. You're steadying your energy so it doesn't collapse every afternoon and leave you reaching for sugar just to function. And you're nudging your whole metabolism back toward burning instead of hoarding, back toward the setting it was meant to run on. That's why a handful of well-placed minutes can genuinely outproduce 2 hours of grinding, joyless, punishing effort. You're not fighting your body anymore. You're changing the system it runs on. Those are completely different projects. Instead of trying to outwork a body stuck in storage mode, you're finally working alongside it, cooperatively, patiently, and once you fix the signals, something quietly wonderful happens. Your body stops fighting you. It stops treating you as a threat. Now, let me answer the questions people ask me most often about all of this, because I know what's forming in your head. The first one is always the same. If this really works, then why doesn't hard exercise fix everything on its own? Because sometimes less genuinely is more. And I know how backwards that sounds coming from anyone in this space. When you overtrain, especially on top of poor sleep and a stressful life, Your body doesn't read it as progress. It reads it as threat, as danger, as one more thing piled onto a nervous system that's already running hot, and a body that feels threatened does not want to release fat. Releasing fat is not its priority. Survival is. Survival is always the number one priority above everything else, above your goals, above your deadline, above your beach holiday, and to a stressed nervous system, holding on to fat is survival. So it clamps down, it stores, it waits. By doing less and stacking calm, consistent signals, you tell your body something it hasn't heard in a long while. You tell it that it's safe. And a safe body is far more willing to let go than an exhausted, flooded one. The second question is always about speed. How fast will I actually notice something happening? Everybody wants a number. Most people feel a real shift within the first 7 days. Steadier energy, fewer cravings, less bloat, lighter after meals. That's the early win. And it matters because it proves the mechanism is real and it keeps you going. But the real magic is compounding. Each consistent week stacks quietly on top of the last one, largely unnoticed. A few months in, the results look nothing like that first week. Nothing at all. That's how compounding always works. The third question is the frustrated one. What if I'm doing all of this properly and I'm still completely stuck? Then look underneath these 4 habits. Because they sit on a foundation, and foundations are invisible until they crack. That foundation is sleep, recovery, and stress. If those 3 are wrecked, everything built above them wobbles constantly. Get your sleep handled first. Genuinely handled, not tolerated. Give yourself real recovery. Pull your stress out of the red zone. 9 times out of 10, that's the hidden crack sitting under a stubborn plateau. Fix the foundation, and the plateau usually breaks. And the last question, always, if I could only pick one of these 4, which single habit matters most? Honestly, that's a difficult call, and I don't love ranking them. But I'd point to the movement right after meals. It's free, it takes almost no time, and it intervenes at the exact moment the storage decision is being made. That said, the real leverage isn't in any single habit. It never is. It's in stacking all 4 together. Let them compound. Day after day, week after week, until they stop being habits and simply become who you are. Now here's what I actually need you to hear, because it matters more than any single tip in this entire lesson. There are people right now working harder than they ever have in their lives. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe that's you, doing everything they were told. Showing up, sweating, sacrificing weekends, evenings, dessert, comfort, spontaneity, and time with people they love, and still watching nothing change in the mirror, month after month. And quietly, privately, they've decided the problem must be them. It isn't. It was never them. It was never you. The problem was never effort, and it never has been. The problem was that nobody ever showed you the signals, the invisible messages your body listens to and obeys without asking. Those messages get sent long before your body ever cares how many minutes you spent inside a gym that evening. Once you understand that, the entire game changes. Not the effort, the direction. You stop pushing against a locked door. You stop trying to out-punish your body into cooperating with you, and you start speaking its language instead. Fluently, so if something here just clicked into place for you, if you finally understand why the hard way wasn't working, tell someone, pass it to somebody who needs to hear it, because this is the kind of thing you can't unsee once you've seen it. 9 minutes, 4 habits. Squats after meals. Real meals with real gaps. Water before food, protein and water together. None of it is difficult. None of it requires suffering. None of it asks for 2 hours you don't have. It only asks that you stop sending the wrong signal over and over and start sending the right one instead. Start tomorrow morning. 1 glass of water before the coffee. 10 squats after breakfast. That's your entire first day. Then let it build. Quietly, unremarkably, without drama. That's how real change actually arrives, and it rarely announces itself. And one day, sooner than you expect, you'll notice your body isn't working against you anymore. It's working for you.